All right. Well, thinking we get right to it. Hopefully everyone has been engaging in the daily practice, been finding it meaningful. No difficulties getting to it. That key of being mindful of what we're cultivating that's wholesome versus unwholesome, virtuous and non-virtuous. That's a game changer. So we'll have some time for dialogue. I do want to get right in this text. We have a little bit to cover. Share the screen, bring the text right up. So within the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, the path of awakening, the path of no more suffering, there's three categories His Holiness uses, and ethics, meditation, stability of mind, and wisdom. So these are the three higher trainings. And he's using the word morality instead of ethics. So really thoughtful about the words he uses. He really wanted this to be as open and as inclusive as possible. So we're here on the Eightfold Path, and we're in the higher training of morality, ethics. So levels of practice of the morality of individual liberation. So this level, because people vary in their ability to keep certain vows, Buddha described several different levels of moral practice. Within the morality of individual liberation, that level, there are those who live a householder's life in a home rather than a monastery. So that would be us. Those who have left the householder's life to become monks or nuns. So within individual liberation, we have these two categories. If you are capable of maintaining chastity for a lifetime, you can leave the household and take monastic vows. If you cannot maintain chastity but can keep vows, you can take certain layperson vows that last the entire lifetime, or others that last for only a day. So they have these different types of vows, precepts you can take for a day. A lot of people take on some just for some purification, to gain some merit. There's vows like the refuge vows, generally the 5 that they talk about that we take. Often that'll be like becoming formally Buddhist. We have bodhisattva vows, we have all types of vows. So there are these different vows. You can be either a householder or a monastic. But let's get into the benefits of morality. We find many similarities in the monastic life in all religions: simplicity, devotion through prayer, meditation, service to others. Christian clergy are especially committed to service in the fields of education, health, and welfare, and Buddhist monastics have much to learn from these Christian traditions. Practice of the morality of individual liberation, whether lay or monastic, leads to contentment. For example, monastics adhere to a limited diet, a small breakfast and then lunch, with nothing after that, so not to eat after midday. They have no right to demand, I want this food or that food. Whatever they are offered on daily rounds of begging, they must accept. Thus, Buddhist monastics are not necessarily vegetarian. Whatever they get, they will eat. That is the training of contentment regarding food. Okay, has that in italics here. It alleviates anxiety about getting this or that kind of food. Right? We get pretty worked up about our recipes. Lay people can emulate this practice by not insisting on special foods. Even if you're rich, you actually cannot consume much more than poor people, except to your own detriment. Both rich and poor have the same stomach, similar stomachs. So, yeah, right off the bat, he's talking about this simplicity. It's interesting because we'll often think that I'll be happier if I can have more of this or that. And it's really quite the contrary. That's not Buddhist, that's just Western psychological research. More choice, less happiness, much more suffering, much more discontentment. We can talk about that in a bit, but so simplicity. So when I was a monk, yeah, I didn't eat after midday, and I did not do rounds of begging, so I was able to be monastic and vegetarian. And so different traditions will offer that. Chinese tradition, they're pretty much all vegetarian. Southeast Asia, they do the opposite. They eat whatever you put in there. And big monasteries like Ganden, they will feed the monks, and so these big kitchens. So those monasteries offer vegetarian food, and then there can be some additional food that you have in your kitchen. But it's pretty simple. But yeah, monks know how to cook a good meal. So it's not that you shouldn't have a good meal. It's the attachment around it. With regard to clothing, monks and nuns are limited to only one set of robes. To own more than one, he or must get the blessing of another monastic, keeping in mind the extra robe also belongs to the other person. Cannot wear expensive clothing. Prior to communist Chinese invasion, monks and nuns sometimes wore luxurious clothes, which amounted to corruption and self-deception. In a way, the communist Chinese have been kind to us by destroying these corruptions. This limitation in dress is the practice of contentment regarding clothes. So, two practice, one regarding food, now clothes. Lay people can adopt a similar practice through moderation in dress. The same is true for adornments. Wearing more than one ring on each finger is certainly too much. It is a mistake to think that it is really worthwhile to spend more on food, clothing, and adornments just because you have more money. Rather, spend more on health and education for poor people. This is not forced socialism, but voluntary compassion. So, again, simplicity, contentment, cultivating contentment, powerful practice. We'll unpack that a little bit more. Just on the monk's clothes, typically when I was a monk, it was you had one to wear and one to wash. So we had two sets. I actually had three because I was traveling. So, that varies a bit. Also, it is essential for monastics to be satisfied with adequate shelter. An elaborate home is not allowed. This is called contentment with regard to shelter. Lay people can adopt this practice by reducing the never-ending quest for a better home and for furniture and decorations in it. Examine your attitudes towards food, clothes, and shelter. By reducing expectations, you will promote contentment. Extra energy, which is released, should be devoted to meditation and to achieve cessation of problems, corresponding to the fourth and third noble truths. In this way, contentment is the basis, and the resulting action is called liking meditation and abandonment. So he's talking about these three contentments, and just the foundational core teaching is simplicity. He is really core to happiness. The more elaborate we get, the more things we own, the more things we belong to, the more we engage in. The more complicated our lives get, the more stress we get, the more our minds can be very unsettled. So this idea of cultivating simplicity and contentment through contentment, you'll make time and space to really engage in meditation and abandonment of the source of much of our stress, worry, and fear, which is all this stuff. And so it's pretty simple and straightforward. It's kind of the antithesis to what many of us do, right? And so he's not, some people Obviously, we have nice things. He's saying, is that really the best way to spend all your time and energy? Or might you be happier? It was a more simpler life. And, could we, what are we gaining when we spend so much time adorning our life versus having a more simple life, so that's dedicated to this path? So something to work with. And with monks and nuns, one of the nice things is, my meal was what was served, and I was grateful to have it. It tastes good. And I actually found, when I stopped being a monk, I went to the grocery store, and I was going shopping. I got this little place, and I went shopping. So I need food. I need to get what I want to eat, and it was really quite a enlightening moment. I had to ask myself, what do I want? What I had to ask that question in a long time, because I traveled with monks, and we were fed all the time. I ate what we ate. We did. So there I was in this big old supermarket, big one too. Like, what do I want? And it was quite baffling for quite a while. I love food, and I like pretty much all kinds of food, and it was quite a just me going in circles, because I just hadn't asked myself, what do I want? What's my preference? So there's a little bit of a journey entering back into the life of a layperson, about preferences and so forth. So it's okay to have preferences and all that. Again, it's the attachment, but I just hadn't had that question. So in the monastic lifestyle, I knew what I was going to wear. I ate what was given. The shelter was provided one way or another, and just a simple place. Life was really quite wonderful. So here we go. We should be contented in material areas, for those are bound by limitation, but not with regard to the spiritual, which can be extended limitlessly. So this is a big thing. We spend a lot of time on something that's limited instead of what's unlimited. Though it is true that a discontented person who owned the whole world might want to own a tourist center on the moon, that person's life is limited. And even the amount that can be owned is limited. It's better right from the beginning to be contented. However, with regard to compassion and altruism, there is no limit, and thus we should not be content with the degree that we have. We are just the opposite. In the spiritual field, we are content with slight amounts of practice and progress, but materially, we always want more and more. It should be the other way around. Everyone needs to practice this, whether lay or monastic. So an invitation to start reversing the trend. How much time and energy do we spend on, samsara, getting and decorating samsara, versus some time that would eliminate all that mental and emotional suffering. Practicing the morality of individual liberation is also helpful in increasing mindfulness and introspection. If a monastic is about to commit certain acts, even in a dream, he or she realizes, I'm a monk, nun. I should not act in this way. Mindfulness comes from a highly developed awareness of your physical and verbal actions, which carries over into dream time. If you pay close attention to your conduct when eating, coming and going, sitting and standing, and so forth, then a strong condition of mindfulness will take hold. So mindfulness is essential, really, to ethics and morality. In our four thoughts, the third thought, it really brings that home, to be mindful of the virtuous and non-virtuous. We use the words wholesome and unwholesome. Mindfulness is really to guard us from those types of behaviors, even in our thoughts. The practice of morality of individual liberation also fosters tolerance and patience. Buddha said that patience is the highest form of asceticism. I can barely get that out. And through it, one can reach nirvana. For monks and nuns, there are 4 qualities of patience and tolerance to maintain. Okay, 4 qualities. So again, just contentment. That's the opposite of desire. And so desire is going to create a lot of discontentment. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't have a preference. No, it doesn't mean we shouldn't have a preference. Content with what we get, but being motivated to, compassion, kindness, these spiritual qualities, never content with that, but contentment with the incredible opportunities in life that we do have. So we overlook that so much, look at how rich we are, having electricity and buildings and homes and food and clothing to wear. We have so much, and so many have so little, and even those with more can be just not very happy, right? So we can look around, just see that, and you say, well, we can be cultivating contentment instead. And so it still means we work, we show up, and some of the things that we do, can be quite good for our minds. In creating art. My wife Laura loves her garden. It really something that's quite meaningful to see gardens, and a lot of people do that. So things of that nature are still, helpful. But then he's also saying that morality fosters tolerance and patience, and that patience is the highest form of asceticism. Through it, one can reach nirvana. So patience, there's just so much forbearance, it's often called. There's of the 6 perfections, the perfection of patience. It's the antidote to anger. It's the ability to not give in under adverse feelings, to be able to endure. It's such an incredible thing, patience. So morality fosters that. We're going to not just act out and do a lot of things. We're going to be able to cultivate a sense of contentment in even when things are challenging. So for monks and nuns, there are 4 qualities of patience and tolerance to maintain. So if someone pushes you around, you should be tolerant and patient. If someone shows anger to you, you should not respond with anger. If someone hits you, you should not strike back. If someone embarrasses and insults you, you should not answer back. So how are you all doing with those, huh? So does this mean we let people beat us up? No, it doesn't mean that. It does mean, if somebody pushes you around, be tolerant and patient. Meaning, don't let them keep doing it. Tolerant and patient can be, how can we get out of that situation? How can we resolve this skillfully? And not just out of anger hitting back, but that, somebody pushes, is there a way I can de-escalate this situation? What can we do? And that's been a practice of mine for quite a long time, way before I was a monk. That was a practice of mine, just being a little guy in a tough neighborhood, is having a lot of patience and skill around violent situations, being able to de-escalate it and speak more skillfully. So, things that we can do there. If someone shows anger to you, you shouldn't respond with anger, because that harms us. If we're already harmed by anger, us responding with anger harms us. So we've talked about that a great deal in our earlier part of the book, is watering those seeds of anger, creating the conditions that causes for further anger. Anger doesn't feel good. It's not good for us. It builds seeds of reactivity too that we can engage in. So we don't respond with anger, we respond with compassion. Doesn't mean you don't respond, right? So what's the healthy way to respond to this anger? Again, how could I de-escalate, or do I need to leave? Or, what's the skillful way? I address their action and can set a boundary, but not. And I can do that with compassion, understanding they're coming from a place of confusion, of suffering. And, I'm not going to go there. And how can I engage with this person in a healthy way? But no need for anger. Compassion's more skillful. I'm going to pause just for a minute so I maybe blow my nose here. Okay. And if someone embarrasses, insults you, should answer back. So it takes two to tango. So if somebody, calls us a name, we don't need to call them a name back. And so this is a practice, patience and tolerance. And on the surface, it seems like, wow, that seems pretty hard. And it can be very hard. But don't we deserve it? Don't we deserve inner peace, well-being? And do I need to really engage in more causes of conflict and suffering? So all of these can be responded to out of compassion and quite skillfully, and getting ourselves out of further engagement, argument, discussion. So he's not saying we don't respond skillfully. We do respond out of compassion. But patiently, we can respond rather than react. And so we have some of those opportunities. Okay, these practices increase patience. A person who has left the householder's life but hurt someone else is not engaged in proper activity. There are stories of monks in Tibet who have even gone to war, right? So that's inappropriate. They threw themselves into battle despite Buddha's repeated teaching that to harm anyone else is certainly not virtuous for a monk or nun. Spiritual practice is not about externals, food, clothing, or the like. Spiritual practice takes place in our hearts, in our minds. True change is within, leaves the outside as it is. If your behavior truly reflects an improved mind and heart, that is fine. However, if you're just making a show of your spiritual accomplishments in order to get money, for example, that's hypocrisy. So he's talking about, putting on a good show for money. And sometimes, monks are not even just with spiritual teachers, all that, they'll be teaching all this love and compassion in different ways, but they're doing it for fame, recognition, money, and you can see there's a lot of spiritual leaders or even yoga teachers or different spiritual traditions or all kinds. It's not limited. We're teaching goodness and not really for the right motives. So we don't need to have the fancy teacher robe and all that. What's really matters is our heart and mind. Practicing Buddhism means transforming your attitude. Monastic practices can be incorporated into a layperson's life through a strong conscious wish to refrain from harming others, physically or verbally. This requires patience that will withstand physical and verbal attacks, so not to be so triggered by them. A gradual approach is far better than trying to jump too high too soon. This is where I want to get to. Otherwise, there's a great risk or danger. For the time being, contribute to society and practice the teachings. Once you reach a certain stage of experience, you can practice with greater force if you become a monastic. These practices fit together step by step. Usually my advice for beginners is to be patient. Have fewer expectations of yourself. It's most important to be an honest citizen, a good member of the human community. Whether or not you understand profound ideas, it is more important to be a good person wherever you are right now. You should not neglect the greater purpose for the sake of a smaller one. Consider both the present and the long term in the same way that temporary economic gains should not be considered in relation to long-term environmental needs. So we're on a path of awakening, a long-term purpose, and not throw that away just for small moments of pleasure. I like to say that the essence of the Buddhist teaching can be found in two sayings. If possible, you should help others. If that's not possible, at least you should do no harm. Clearly, typo into the thing didn't go. Helping others is the essence of the initial stage of living the teachings of morality. So I think that's what that might be. Actually, do have the book here, but so this is our entry point here, and we will take a look at this summary for practice. Suggested practice, which you might be leaning into a little bit. Notice your attachments to food, clothes, and shelter, and adapt monastic practices of contentment to a layperson's life. Be satisfied with adequate food, clothing, and shelter. Use the additional free time for meditation so you can overcome more problems. Develop a strong desire to refrain from harming others, either physically or verbally, no matter whether you are embarrassed, insulted, reviled, pushed, or hit. So we are going to start incorporating these practices and see how we do. And again, I want to highlight this point he's making is my advice to beginners is be patient, have fewer expectations on yourself. Most important is to be honest citizen. So a gradual approach is far better than trying to jump too high too soon. Otherwise, there's great risk and danger. So our invitation here is to start to just explore our attachments to, and time and energy, food, clothing, shelter, and see if we could be a little more content, if our life would be a little simpler, easier, by developing some contentment there and cultivating this patience around it, really just non-harm. So, quite a bit there. I'm going to take that down, and I suspect we might have a few questions here. And so if you'd like to ask a question, you can raise your hand and just let me know what you think here. I think we can be a little more content with a simpler lifestyle. All right, we got one up here. Oops, it flipped. I was trying to get Ruth, not Aaron. Let me get you out of here, Aaron. Okay. Okay, Ruth, I should be able to hear you if you're ready. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, here I am. Thank you. I'm enjoying the book, and this was really interesting to listen to and review again. What's coming to mind for me is that it's just so easy to be lulled into thinking that I'm living simply or foregoing, excess. It's all to such degrees, I guess, because there's so much here, so many options. You know, I'm just thinking today I painted my living room and I didn't have to do that. So that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's such a good point you make. You know, our degree of simplicity is somebody else's, you know, amazing grandeur. And it's not lost on me. I mean, I used to be homeless, lived in a homeless camp under a bridge. And, you know, that, you know, just being around toilets and flush, pretty exciting. And so, you know, as people, you know, acclimate and how we're raised, right? And our level of being. So, but the main point he's making, and I think this is the thing to really focus on, is how much time are we spending and putting into that versus time that we could be either meditating, studying, cultivating this path. And that's, you know, that's a trickier part of this, you know, because I'll find that, you know, through my activities, which I think are pretty wholesome, but they're full. You know, when I have some extra time, you know, I'm too tired to, you know, maybe practice and, you know, I go take a break. And so we have X amount of time in a day. And when I was a monastic life, they call them freedom vows. They call them these freedom vows. You're free of all these worldly activities. So you actually are free to engage in the practice of Dharma. So that's the beauty of monastic vows. They're not so much things you can't do. There's things you don't have to do anymore, right? And you're liberated from it. So you don't have to do that. There's a lot of work in being a lay person. There's a lot of work in having a family. There's a lot of work in maintaining a house. There's a lot of work in all that. And there's a lot of work in hair care, right? You know, I mean, that's the whole thing. So you can be liberated. You know, monks get the same haircut, wear the same clothes. Like, whoa, you know, I just cut out a lot of activity. So the main point is that if we simplify, we'll have more spaciousness in our minds, more spaciousness in our practice. And so, yeah, we could still have a fairly nice, you know, nice place. But how much of our time is going to be obsessing with fixing it up, you know, and just appreciating, you know, just keep it clean, nice, you know, good. Boy, I thought this would open up everybody's hand. Like, what are you guys talking about? Huh? All right, let me get you, Rita. Okay, Rita, you're on mute. You should be good to go.
Thank you. So the part about not responding to anger with anger, but with compassion, I wonder how a person does that when someone has lied to them and cheated them.
Mm-hmm.
Where does the compassion part come in the response to that?
Yeah, good question. Good question. Let me just mute you for a minute so I don't get feedback. There you go. So compassion. So first off, anger is if somebody lies and cheats to me and I get angry, I'm damaging myself. So so compassion for myself right off the bat is, you know what, I've already had some damage done. I do not want to create lots of seeds or damage of anger for me in the future. And so understanding that whatever has happened, right, that karma is come and gone, right? So whatever karmas need to be ripened, whether I broke my leg, whether someone cheated me or whatever, that, you know, there's an opportunity to go, wow, you know, that karma has been ripened, not a part of my life anymore. But everything I think, say, or do now is creating karma for the future. So for my own good, I don't want to keep watering seeds of anger. That it's not gonna, it's gonna damage me, not them. And if I then understand that there's a perspective here that I don't really want to suffer more, and I've already suffered enough. So there's some self-compassion right off the bat. Secondly, compassion, understanding that the person who's doing something harmful, they're doing it out of their own confusion, their own desires, their own discontent, their own grasping at something, in some way, and they're creating an incredible amount of harmful karmic imprints on their side. And so this is, we talk about that, but on the extreme side, these yogis who are tortured by Chinese prison, in prison camps, and really saw their tortures as their great benefactors, because they really understood what bodhicitta was about, and they really had a chance to practice. So, they understood the incredible karma that their people torture them are going to endure, and they use it as a purification. So we don't need to go that extreme, and we don't need to let people lie and cheat to us continuously. As a matter of fact, that's not compassion either. So compassion means, yeah, you hurt me, but I'm not going to give you the chance to continue to harm me as I cultivate a resentment that I'm going to carry with me for 5 years. I'm going to recognize that, you've done something harmful, and now I'm going to choose to get in a solution. So given this has happened, now I ask the most important question: what's the healthiest thing to do? That's how we come from compassion. Given this situation, what's the healthiest thing for me to do? Is the healthiest thing to report something to the police? Is the healthy thing to, leave that friendship? Is the healthy thing to do, my opportunity to, send a bill or, do whatever we need to do as far as legally. But we don't need to do any of that with anger. We don't need to do any of that with anger. Anger is something that we're going to carry with us. So, and if I'm angry, I can't even ask myself what's going to solve the problem, what's the healthiest thing to do. Out of anger, I'm very limited in my options. And then I'm going to believe that this person's a terrible person. Then I'm going to carry it. There's a terrible person, which of course is not true either. And I'm going to freeze this person in time, and then I'm going to carry them with me for years. And 5 years from now, I'll tell you what a terrible person, so-and-so is because they did this to me. When in fact, it was a human being at one moment in their life who did something at one moment. I was there, and a lot of conditions arose, and this person's done a million other things, including some kind things. And who knows, maybe today they're, on a spiritual path, and they're, a different kind of person, and that they are changing as well. And to recognize in my own life, I have harmed people, and I've let people down, and I haven't always held up my word. And now I've done better, so I've changed. Others can change. And so given this situation, we get to ask that question. And that's coming from compassion. Compassion has one interest. It's not that it's to remove suffering. So the question that we ask ourselves when someone's harmed us is, what's going to eliminate suffering? And not what's going to increase suffering. I mean, if I harm them or wish ill will or carry resentment, well, I'm going to suffer for years, or they may suffer, whatever. Compassion says, what's the healthiest thing to do to eliminate suffering long term as well? And it might be to just not have a friend like that. So, I have some people in my life that, needed some money, loaned them money, didn't pay me back, called, asked them, lied to me about it, still haven't. I have no ill will towards them at all. They had that they had need or what they did, and I'm sure they're, doing okay today with however they are. But I don't need to carry a pain with me around that. I won't loan them money again, right? But that's just understanding the nature of things. Because I can't take back what happened. I can move forward. Is that helpful?
super helpful and is going to help extricate me from a complicated situation. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Rita. Okay. And we got Betsy here. Yep. Time for one more here, Betsy. You're up.
Okay. Hi, John.
Hi. Good to sort of see you. Good to hear you.
Okay, I've asked you this before, but it's come up big time again.
Huh?
And I don't remember what you said before because it's been a while. We're inundated with mice, pack rats, moths, weeds, and I'm having a real hard time with do no harm, don't kill.
Mhm.
I need help. It's weighing heavily on me, and yeah.
Yeah. So I have experience with mice big time. But there is a lot, I mean, and you can research humane, ways of dealing with insects, ants, all that. And I actually have in the office here a vacuum tube, so like moths, things like that. It sucks them in, and you go outside and it releases them. I actually got rid of a whole bunch of gnats that way, and so there are these devices now that can really help with a lot of those. With mice, actually, when I went off to be a monk and I came home, my whole place was infested. And so I bought those little humane little traps where they come in, put a little peanut butter, door closes. And I relocated like 17 of them. And the first night I set 3 out, and like in 10 minutes was pop, pop, pop. I was like, wow. But I learned that, as soon as you catch a mouse, you need to hide it. You need to put it in a box, because all the other mice, they get smart. My son-in-law just posted one where they were getting rid of mice, and there's a little lever, and he put these little marshmallows, and once you take it out, the lever goes, and he put 2 marshmallows out, so you kind of lead in. And there's one mouse, after a few others were caught, took the 2 marshmallows, wedged it under the lever so it could grab the other one, but it was too fat anyway, so it got trapped. But it was pretty smart. So it is a bit of a journey, and you have to find what's going to work for you. But I do also have a friend, actually, now I'm thinking about it, who has these incredible, you plug it into an outlet, sends out these sort of, you can't hear it, little waves, and it really helps eliminate rodents of any kind. And if you email me after, I can give you that link, because that's a helpful thing. After I got rid of them, it sends out this thing, it keeps them from congregating. But there are all these things, because there are a lot of other people suffering like you that have been pretty thoughtful about how to do it.
Okay. All right, we've tried all kinds of things, and
Did you catch any mice?
oh yeah, every day.
Okay,
They
well,
line
here's
up.
the big issue with mice is you need to seal your house.
Well, yeah, I live in a log house.
Yeah,
It's not,
that's going to be a problem. So
there's no
yeah,
seal.
if you don't seal it, yeah.
Is
So
there any way to think about this a little differently? I mean, because we are trapping them, and not humanely, because especially the pack rats, I did that for a few years and they come back if you don't take them really far away, and there's no place to take them.
yeah, I took them far away. So yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I can't give permission to kill. So that one's not gonna.
Okay.
But I would suggest that, again, those little things that you plug in the outlets might be helpful.
Yeah.
This
Then
particular brand, some are better than others. This is a particular, very special
Okay.
one. Okay, sorry about the struggle here. It's quite a practice in patience, huh?
yeah.
Okay. All right. We are already at the hour. Any burning question? Okay. All right. So we will incorporate again now some of this idea of contentment, of cultivating contentment, and just noticing, does that extra, whatever on my latte, make my life that much better? And what are some simpler things, and see how I can just start cultivating contentment in things a bit, and see how that practice works. That's the idea, is that we have a teaching that we put into practice these things as best we can. And the key here is that we want to start slowly and recognize we're not going to, just small steps, and start getting a taste and see if we get some awareness out of that. All right. Well, a joy to sit with all of you. And let's go ahead and dedicate our merit and wisdom for the benefit of all beings. So let us dedicate the merit and wisdom accumulated here today and throughout our lifetimes. We dedicate this merit and wisdom for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all beings be free of suffering. May they find their liberation. May we be able to use the merit and wisdom accumulated here today and throughout our lifetimes to purify our own minds, to help us recognize our Buddha nature, engage in this path of awakening for the benefit of all beings. May we also dedicate the merit and wisdom accumulated here today and throughout our lifetimes for a long life of all spiritual teachers of all spiritual traditions. May they live long, may their teachings flourish, and may we offer a special dedication for long life of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. May he live long, his teachings flourish. His 85th birthday coming up next month.